What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Tragedy. I am Piers Austin, and I am joined once again with my two co-hosts, Kevin Rodriguez and the Kingpin Angel Medina. Gentlemen, how are we tonight? Before we get into it,
Tonight, my ass, man. The tragedy is that I'm waking up this damn early. I feel like Nia Jax just sat on my face. That's how that's how tired I am.
Angel, are we gonna ignore the fact that about 2 minutes ago Piers had on like an abomination of a shirt?
Do you mean the blouse?
Like I don't like I understand it's like 6 in the morning for me, 5 in the morning for you. Piers, did you get dressed in the dark? Did you reach to the wrong end of the closet with that shirt? Like obviously you've changed shirts since then, but I was just gonna let you go live with it, and Angel's one said, nope, not gonna happen.
yeah, well, man, it was a nice shirt, dude. I liked it.
Why
It
don't
was
you,
a
bro? Why don't you bring it out?
You're right, it is a very
Grab it.
nice shirt, but does it come in men's?
Grab it.
I think you come in enough men for all of us, Kevin.
Grab it. If you're so proud of it, show the fans the shirt.
It's a nice denim shirt. Like
Show them the pockets. Look at the blouse.
it's not a fucking blouse, fucking dick.
Anyway, so
We're gonna-
13 of Wrestling with Tragedy, and really quick before we get into it, guys, I just want to take a quick second to thank our amazing sponsors for making this show happen. First of which being Myon Belts. Myon Belts is the premier belt maker in the world. If you're looking to add to your belt collection or start your belt collection, make sure you go to Myon Belts on Facebook and check them out. They have an amazing payment plan, and they're going to be able to get you all the belts you need at the most reasonable price. Also, guys, A-Rock Designs. A-Rock Designs is a custom business where they make all kind of custom cups, hoodies, tumblers, keychains, and all that other good stuff. If you want to get your hands on any custom wrestling merchandise or anything not wrestling related, go check out A-Rock Designs on Facebook and Instagram, where you can place all of your orders and see all the things that they offer over at A-Rock Designs. With that being said, let's turn it over to Piers and let us know what we'll be talking about today, man.
So, guys, we're going to be talking about the recent allegations. So, everything that we've, the wrestling world has really essentially been turned on its head the last several weeks. Started out with David Starr being called out by some ex-girlfriends and some women that he's been with, being that he's been a bully, a predator, really sort of mind fucking these women and taking advantage of situations and basically being a downright piece of shit. There was a video that surfaced of him and an NXT referee that, it sounded like a pretty fucking skeezy thing to say in the video, but obviously there's a lot more to than just the video that what's come to light.
And
But
what did he say?
He basically sat there and he was like, "Hey, Bella, I've got my friend here and he wants to ask you a question." And the NXT referee said, "Hey, can you get me a wet lay?" And, it was like, "Yeah, bring all your slutty friends. We need girls that'll get in there, suck some dick in the ring." Like when he's refereeing a match, like sucking dick. And, like I said, it was vulgar to some degree, but,
That's
look,
bullshit.
there's a lot more to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot more to it than just being vulgar. But it really escalated. And as soon as he got called out, several other people got called out. A lot of people in the UK. We've seen people getting, contracts terminated, also companies severing ties with a lot of guys since this speaking out movement has come out. So, and some big names too.
Look, let me go off this. I'm feel like Kevin right now. I gotta voice my opinion strong because this is a situation that's bothering me. I've been in the business for many years. This is all these women, all these men who are coming out, speaking out. I totally respect you speaking out and voicing your concerns of what happened to you in the past. But please, why is it all of a sudden, all these years later, that you're bringing this up? Why are you bringing this up many moons later? If it was such a tragedy back then, you should have brought it up when it occurred. All of a sudden, this is just all allegations. This is just them just saying, "Hey, 10 years ago, Angel kicked me in the balls." And and my friend saw it, and then all of a sudden now there's no proof, there's no evidence, there's nothing. It's just these stories,
The thing is,
there's a lot to cover with this one. Obviously, I mean the amount of names on this list are just absolutely ridiculous. There's three in particular that I feel very, very strongly about, and I'm sure we'll get into that in the broadcast. But 2020 hasn't really been the year for pro wrestling, has it? I mean, we had Corona, we had, as a result of coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, we've had the empty arena shows. Then we had all the people getting cut from WWE, and now we're in the middle of this outcry, speak out movement. And I agree with what Angel said. It's almost like now it's okay to do it, so now everybody's doing it. It's almost in a, for lack of a better term, now it's cool to speak out. So let's speak out. I fully agree with Angel. If it happened, there's two times for me where it's acceptable to and I hate to use the term acceptable, because if you went through something, it's always acceptable to voice it and let people know. But the two times you're most believable is, one, right after it happens. I understand it's a tough time, you're confused, you don't know what's going on, but that's your best bet right when it happens. Or two, let's say you work for WWE and then you want to keep it on the down low because you're trying to keep your job. When you're released from WWE or you leave WWE, that's the second time, because now you're no longer worried about blowback, no pun intended, but you're not worried about consequences or anything like that. So I think it's right after it happens, or whenever you leave the company that you have an issue with. However, it's a double-edged sword. If that company releases you and then you just decide to speak up about it, now you just look jaded. But another thing I wanted to bring up was, when that stuff happens, when that stuff happens, and you have, I mean, would you guys say it's reasonable to say we've had at least 20 people speak up?
20 people plus. We've had over 20 people accused.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a rough number really quick. So let's say 30. Let's say 30 people. When you have 30 people come up and speak up at once, I'm just going to call it like it is, guys. A lot of them just being crybabies. A lot of them just talking to talk. But the problem with that is, when you have those people doing that, let's say out of those 30, you have 5 people who are legitimately sexually assaulted or abused in some kind of way. It's going to be a lot harder for those 5 actual cases to get justice when you got to sift through these other 25 bullshit cases. So not only does it ruin the people's careers that you're accusing, but it either stops and or postpones real cases from getting the justice they deserve, which is why I have such strong feelings about this. I know I rambled for a while. I do want to go back to Piers so he can kind of go through the list and we'll talk about it. But those are really my opening statements about it.
Well, before Piers goes into, the topics, but the thing is, let me give you a good story. Just one wrestling story. When I was sharing the room with Vic
Great
Grimes,
story, Angel.
Vic Grimes, shit Grimes. But the thing is, I remember one time we were sharing a hotel room, and I hate to be bothered in the bathroom. And he knocks on the door and he goes, "Hey, brother, I got to go to the bathroom. Can I come in while I'm shaving?" I said, "Dude, I can't stand people bothering me when I'm shaving. Oh, please, brother, I got to go."
That's hard
times. So then
hard times.
So I said, "Dude, just come in, man. Just hurry up." So I'm shaving. He's peeing. So I walk over there and go, "Dude, aren't you supposed to be sitting down doing that with that little dick?" He runs like fucking Family Guy when they fucking got the prostate exam. So let's say years later.
I guess it really wasn't hard times, was it?
It wasn't. But the thing that gets me upset is that, let's say years later now, he comes out and says, "Man, I was traumatized. He made fun of me. He bullied me. He picked on me." You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's like, dude, this is a wrestling business. This is a club where boys are boys, and we say shit and we do things that we don't mean. You know how many times I told DeVito? I mean, look at the DeVito story. Why should 2 DeVitos get cremated in the week when we had the Flaming Tables match? That was an insensitive thing I said. But he could have brought it up years later, saying, he was traumatized.
And you see, that's exactly what I was getting at. I'm glad you told that story, because you tell that story, oh, shouldn't you be sitting down and stuff like that? If that case were to come up, I mean, that's a harmless joke. That's something that if there's an issue there, hey, Angel, I didn't appreciate what you said. I don't really like those kind of jokes. Let's not do that again. Problem solved. But and now you have somebody who was actually taken advantage of, and they're speaking up, and then you speak out about that, your little bullshit story has now taken away and postponed from that actual story that needs to be heard and needs justice given. So I'm glad you told that story because it allowed me to put into context exactly what I meant. Because look, guys, I'm not trying to offend anybody here. These are just my opinions. But Angel's story really helped me put that into context. So thank you for that, Angel.
Go ahead, Piers.
My thing with it all is, whenever someone is forced to do something or pressured into doing something they don't want to because of fear of losing their spot, fear of losing potential bookings, and fear of, that is someone who is taking advantage of their position of power.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. There's been stories out there. Like, let's say, for example, Joey Ryan. I read a one accusation about Joey Ryan. There was this female wrestler who was actually friends with Joey. She was engaged to someone at the time. He was friends with her fiance. They drove to the next town. They got a hotel room. They were going to order something to eat. And he came to her room and said, hey, is it okay if I eat here while our food arrives? He then went into the bathroom, came out buck naked, and then proceeded to pressure her into having sex, taking her hand, putting it on his genitals, rubbing her hand on his genitals, where she was saying, I was like looking away. I felt like really I felt like I couldn't even speak. I felt like I was just in shock. I was scared. That situation,
when she's saying leave,
but she was saying no. She was in her statement. She was saying no. So essentially, he's just raped this woman.
Look, no. The bottom line, no. The thing is, go ahead, Kevin. You go first.
It's very close.
It's wrong. It's sexual assault. It's sexual abuse, but it's not rape. And I'm glad you brought up Joey Ryan because I said there were three people that I really wanted to touch on in this, and Joey Ryan's one of them. Now, with the example you just gave, yes, that is wrong. If that is what happened, if that is an accurate story, and I'm not sitting here saying anybody's a liar, I don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and say this person did it if I don't know. These are allegations. I want to make that very clear. We are not judges. Oh yes, I'm just clarifying for the viewers. Angel, Piers, and myself, we are not judge, jury, executioner, none of the above. All of these are allegations. I knew that was coming.
Fuck that shit.
But there are plenty of stories of Joey Ryan's in-ring work that have come out. Here's what I want to say about Joey Ryan. First of all, the story Piers just told, if that is true, it is sickening, and yes, it is wrong. It's not rape, but it's still wrong. But this is what I want to say about Joey Ryan. We all know the kind of wrestler Joey Ryan is. We all know what kind of moves he does. I mean, he has what's it called, the dick flip of doom or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
And when you were sitting backstage and the booker comes up to you and goes, "Hey, you're working Joey Ryan tonight," and then Joey Ryan comes up to you and says, "Hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking we're going to do in the match," and you say, "Okay, cool, Joey, great, let's go have a good show." And then he goes into, what he's going to do in that ring. If you have a problem with it, your first chance is to say something to the booker. Hey, I don't really like his style. I can't do that kind of stuff. That's your first chance. And then if the booker still says, I don't care, you're working with him, then when Joey's going over the match with you, that's your chance to go, hey, let's just leave out the dick grabbing stuff. I'm not one for it. I don't really like it, that kind of stuff. Don't wait until after the match is over. After you were going against Joey Ryan, after Joey Ryan goes over the match with you, after you go through the match, and then you come out and say, oh, he made me grab his dick in the ring. You knew that was going to happen.
But no one
have a chance to speak up.
No one said that this happened. This is stuff that happened in hotel rooms. This is
but the thing, what do you think? What do you think?
There are people talking about his in-ring work. I understand what you're saying, but he is getting a lot of heat for his in-ring work, and that is what I am focusing on right now, is just the in-ring work. If you are complaining about Joey Ryan's in-ring work, his kind of wrestling ain't for me. I'm not a Joey Ryan fan. I'm not a Joey Ryan hater, but I'm not a Joey Ryan fan.
Yeah.
When you were speaking about the man's in-ring work, that's all I'm hitting on right now. If you agree to that match, if you go over the match with Joey, and then you go and have the match, shut your mouth. You knew what he was going to do. You know what kind of work he does. Shut up. Everything outside of the ring, I can't really justify. I'm not going to try to. Like I said, it's all allegation. If it's true, he's a monster. If it's not, the false accusations are monsters. But I'm only speaking on behalf of his in-ring work. If you're going to complain about Joey Ryan's in-ring work, shut your mouth.
Now, let me go off this situation. The thing is this. You know how many girls we used to meet at hotel lobbies and hang out and drink and say, hey, I'm heading back to my room. You want to come? Sure. Now, the bottom line is you're trying to hook up. That's the gist. Now,
Yeah, you're not going back to play checkers.
Yeah, we're not going to look at my video wrestling collection or my massive wardrobe collection in my room. So you get there and you talk and you start moving, doing your angles.
But Angel did used to carry his stamp collection with him that he liked to show off a lot.
Yeah, my Abraham Lincoln collection. But the thing is, we go back to the room. You know what's going to happen. If the girl's like, hey, man, I'm not feeling it. Okay, bye, go. Perfect example. Buffalo, New York, we're wrestling. Where and this is a girl we used to call Leatherface, who used to jack people's dick up with a fucking cracked tooth. You know, it looked like a red skunk on the head of your dick.
Shout out to Sinister Minister.
So we go to the room, we work in it, you know, my buddy Tom Marquez, he sleeps with her, and then I slept with her before, and then I take a shower, she's sleeping, and you know, he bangs her and he puts her in the same bed. You know, and then all of a sudden I come out the shower and she's sleeping in my bed. And I go, what are you doing? Well, Tom Marquez told me that that he couldn't sleep because he has a sleep disorder. So he said you wouldn't mind if I slept with you. It was snowing in Buffalo at the time. And I said, yo, negative. I have no problem for you staying the night. But check this out. I took all the blankets and I threw it in the corner. And I said, you could sleep right there in the corner. And she was like, oh, really? And I said, hey, you can sleep in the corner or call a cab. Okay. And she slept in the corner like my dog did. Sleeping in the corner.
Jesus.
Now she could come out now, 2020, and say, I felt degraded. I felt that he threw me in the corner. He slept with me and just threw me like a wet rag. Bitch, I never told you any, you know, I didn't force you to sleep in the corner. I said I called a cab for you. You didn't want to leave because when she opened the door, you see that snow going sideways. You know, the snow is up to the thing. She didn't want to leave. So I said, yo, sleep in the corner. You're not sleeping with me. So what if she comes out now and says, I degraded her, I belittled her. I didn't belittle her. I just told her you're not sleeping with me.
And you know, Angel, that's the scariest thing about it, because when you tell a story like that, you were essentially protecting yourself. You were trying to keep yourself out of a situation where anything can be said. And unfortunately, the time that we live in, anything can be said about anybody. Like you take, okay, so I live in Southeast Georgia. Like it's a very common phrase for like me and Ashley's my wife. I'm a very happily married man, but our friends come over and like I'll call our friends like sweetheart or something like that. Mm. Right now in 2020, if I were to go to a gas station and a female held the door open as I walked in and I said, oh, thanks, sweetheart, I could be looking at a friggin' charge. It's
really?
Ridiculous. All they have to do is say I've been offended. Like, that's all it has to do. And everybody's so offended by absolutely everything. It is getting ridiculous.
Now, you know, one thing I'm just realizing, like, if this is happening to pro wrestling, now we have something that's been going on years before pro wrestling. Look at all the groupies that have been going to Def Leppard concerts, to Metallica concerts, and you know those. And I heard stories of what these bands did to women, doing blow, doing these massive orgies. So don't be expecting something to come up with all these bands, Kiss, AC/DC, Metallica. I know for a fact that something's going to come out and they're going to, well, we were forced to. Dude, no, you're a fucking groupie. In wrestling, you're a rat. DeVito used to say, Angel, stop romancing rats. They're the lowest of the lows. Oh, did I say DeVito's name? Anyway, Philip said, you're the lowest of the lows if you romance a rat. You never romance a rat. You never build a relationship with a rat. You treat them like garbage. That's what was put into me in wrestling. But I never degraded any woman. I always said, yo, either you can leave or you can hang out. We could, whatever. I respected them. But once those panties came off, woo, party time, Flair country.
Old Space Mountain.
But see, that's the thing. Like a lot of these allegations, I'm sure that some of them that are true and some of them that aren't true. And it's very hard, as Kevin said earlier, to differentiate the difference. There are some of the allegations I've saw that, for me, I'm able to sit there and say, hey, hold on a second. That doesn't seem like they've really, like, you know what I mean? Like I've seen holes in some of them. The ones that I have a big problem with is the underage girls. Now, we've seen that in the UK, and we've seen a few in America as well, where girls that are like 14, 15, 16 years of age,
Velveteen Dream,
and young boys as well, they're put in these situations where, they're essentially, not targeted, but in the same sense. Like, say, for example, let's take the Marty Skrull incident, for example. The girl said, I think, was 14 years old, 15 years old. No, sorry, 16. Now, over in the
Austin
UK...
Theories was 13.
The consensual age in the UK is 16 years of age. But at the end of the day, if you're a 26-year-old man having sex with a 16-year-old girl, legally, okay, fair enough. But at the end of the day, you're still trying to fuck a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is not okay. And this...
No, go ahead. Finish
sorry,
that part.
And this girl was saying, she was in a situation, they couldn't get a hotel room. That he was in a corridor, pulled his dick out and told her, yo, start polishing the old rod. She did, took her into a broom closet, tried to stick it in. She said, no, I'm a virgin. They got interrupted and they finished up. And he went on his way. But he's turned around and said, well, hang on a second. I was at a bar, right? So for me, I thought she was over the age, like, the legal drinking age. So over 18.
The Akon story.
But you know what I mean? Like, essentially, like, how can you...
But that's hard.
That situation, that's a hard situation to sit
when
there
you're in a
say.
bar and when you're in a club when it's adults only, 9 out of 10, and again, I am not condoning it. It's just a different situation where you're at a bar when it's all grown-ups, and then you meet with somebody, and then again, I know people are going to say, the difference between a 16-year-old girl and a 20-year-old girl. The thing is that it's difficult because your mind is in an area where you think everybody's adults, especially in a club or a bar or so forth. But the Velveteen,
and then you add the I'm not trying to cut you off, Angel, but another thing is you do go into a bar where the legal age to enter is 21, so your guard's already somewhat let down, and then you add in alcohol. I'm not saying alcohol is any kind of justification, but it clouds your judgment and it impairs your judgment. And then, I'm not trying to sound like a sicko or a weirdo, but I can go to the local high school and find a 17, 16-year-old girl and then go to the grocery store and find a 21-year-old girl, put them side by side and say, hey, guess the age. And it happens every day. Yeah. It happens every single day.
Now, what with the Velveteen Dream situation,
even when I'm sober, I get ages confused, let alone in a bar where you've been drinking.
Now, the Velveteen Dream situation, hey, man, they got photos. They got stuff that they have evidence.
No justification.
There's no justification. But don't come at me 20 years later when the person's 40, 30 or 28 and say, hey, 10, 15 years ago, Angel met me at a bar at the Holiday Inn while we were drinking. This happened. then you should have reported it at that time. But of course, why are you doing it? What are you doing in a bar? Because that puts the owner like, why did you let all these underage kids in your bar?
Mhm.
You know, this is supposed to be 21 and over.
But that's
know?
the thing. Like we talk about the Velveteen Dream thing. That was an online thing with 17, 16 and 15-year-old boys. So he was messaging these boys. This was just after he did Tough Enough. These people would like, he was probably one of the more easily accessible WWE wrestlers to the general public, one would say. Then, he's obviously then, I've seen the screenshots and the messages and the back and forth and, like, hey, like, have you been working out? Show me photos of your body. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, what, motherfucker? Like, you know what I mean? Like, like we've all, like the three of us have all trained and worked out for years and done stuff like that. We'd never say to our buddy, hey man, how's that workout program I'm doing? Hey Kevin, send me some photos of your chest. You know what I mean? Show me some, you know what I mean? Like, why would
well,
what
I
I'm
just saw
saying is like it's very fucking dodgy.
But think about it like
you're
this.
absolutely right.
But this is a perfect example. When you took off your blouse and you was hanging in that on the screen and you showed half your chest, I'm offended. Those titties were hanging, big old pepperoni nipples. It's fucking 5 a.m. I don't deserve that. But again, that could come out and it's recorded. I'm offended. Plus you're the size of a 4-year-old boy, with your height. And
Fuck you.
Another one of there's two other ones that really stand out to me. And I want to go and get this one out of the way first because the next one I'm going to go on a little bit of rant on. And I definitely don't want to talk over anybody or anything like that. But another person who was brought up on this Speak Out movement is a wrestler by the name of Dave Crist. Wrestled in Impact under the tag team OVE with his brother, former Impact World Tag Team Champions. He's one of the cases that I don't believe. I don't buy it. And his wasn't anything sexual or anything like that. Basically, long story short, while he was training some up and coming wrestlers, there was one who kept saying he wanted to hurt himself or harm himself, whatever the case may be. And Dave pretty much just got tired of hearing it. It was like, fucking do it. I don't believe it. I can't say whether Dave did it or not, but I can say this. And this is going to be my my statement about Dave Crist. I can't say whether he did or didn't, but what I can say about him is Dave Crist is a man. For those of you who don't know, I run another podcast called The War Room where I interview professional wrestlers. Dave Crist is a man who received a message from myself asking him to donate his time to do an interview. And Dave Crist took it upon himself, free of charge, to sit down and give some punk kid who was just getting started into interviews. He didn't owe me anything. He didn't have to give me nothing. And he sat down and gave me one of the best interviews I've ever done. And he has treated me with nothing but respect from the day I met him. He's a man who has reached out to me and said, hey, man, how's things going? Is there anything I can do to help you? I can only speak from my personal experience. And Dave Crist has never been anything but nice, respectful. And like I said, this is a guy who is signed to a major contract. He's a former World Tag Team Champion. He's on TV. He's making big moves. He owns a wrestling school. He's training new and upcoming wrestlers. And he could have easily said, look, kid, I ain't got the time. He made the time to help somebody out like myself who he owed nothing to. That man has never been nothing but nice and courteous to me. So I find it really hard to believe, but I'm in law enforcement. I see people do it all the time. I'm not saying whether he did or didn't. All I'm saying is I know the kind of area that he grew up in. I grew up in the very same area. And when you go around and you're saying you're going to, and Angel, I'm sure you've seen this too a lot being in law enforcement, Piers, you with public safety. When somebody sits there and goes, oh, I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They're crying for attention. I've done it plenty of times. I'll go ahead and tell you right now I've done it. I'm guilty of it. If somebody's coming up to me for 2 weeks straight, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, fucking do it. I'm tired of hearing about it. It's not that you're actually wishing someone to go do it. You're just tired of hearing about it. But I really wanted to get that off my chest about Dave. Dave has never been anything but a nice guy to me. Never treated me anything less than respect. And as far as the Dave Crist situation goes, I don't believe it at all.
Look, man, I do a show very similar to yours, Kev, called Shooting the Shit, and I also
cheap plug.
And I also have had the opportunity to sit and speak with Dave, and when the allegations came out about it, I was just it floored me, man. I'm like, dude, this guy is a fucking gentleman. Like from and my interactions with him, he's been like just an amazing dude.
How many times do you hear of people going to a wrestling school and they say, it's so hard, I can't afford, or with trying to go to wrestling school, work a job, you can't work enough hours to pay your bills, so you're living in your car. Dave Crist moves his students into his home. He gives them a room to rent. That way they don't have to worry about, am I working enough hours? Am I making enough money? Can I still afford to go to wrestling school? Dave Crist is a genuine fucking dude, and he does not deserve what's being said.
Look, he definitely doesn't. There's many allegations that have come out. There's been a few that have come out about him, different ones, and yeah, to me, I can't see how how this is true. Like, I mean, from the person that I've interacted with, I don't know, man. And it's the same, I think the same with the Knight family. Like the Knight family, I've had the pleasure of speaking to Ricky Knight, the patriarch of the family, and I've spoken to Ricky Knight Jr. And I was supposed to interview Soraya until these allegations came out, and the allegations that came out about Soraya Knight was just, look, man, some of this shit that came out, I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Hers was another one that I just looked at and was like, nope.
Yeah, like that dude, like, come on. There was one of where I said a 10-year-old kid was waiting for her out where the wrestlers come out to get an autograph. She signed an autograph and 10 kissed a fucking 10-year-old. Angel, when you were coming out of the backstage area, wherever it is, how many times would you see one or two kids just fucking standing there? It'd be fucking full of people. It'd be fucking at least
what, backstage?
50, not backstage, but like when they're leaving the building. You know what I mean? People would be hanging out there where the entrance is for the workers. You're not going to have two kids there.
No, I never. Every show I've been with, and I'm talking about all the 20 plus years I've been, I never seen a kid by himself. It was always with a parent. I mean,
like a 10-year-old kid being
it was always with a parent. It was like, always, come
on, like we're all fathers here, right? We're all kids. We all have kids. Like, come on, man. Are you going to let a fucking 10-year-old just be hanging out in the middle of a fucking back of a fucking building?
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, every show I've been with, every time I walked out, it was always a parent. Hey, can you sign my kids for autograph? Can you do this? Can you do that? I never have seen kids by themselves. Again, I'm not saying, I'm just going from my experience. I just never did.
Look, and like I said, man, it's, from my interactions with the Knight family, they've been great people. They've been, interactive in the area that they have in. They've trained blind kids. They've trained kids with Down syndrome. Name another wrestling training facility that would give
autistic kids, deaf kids,
exactly, to put it. These sort of children that have any other place would say, no fucking way in the world we're going to put you in the ring. These people, this family have trained kids, invested in kids, and then put them in matches so they could live out their dream of wrestling in a match.
So Johnny used to do. I don't know if he still does, but he used to let kids with Down syndrome and other ailments, and to work out in the ring, wrestle with the boys, learn how to wrestle, and then perform in front of an audience. But before, this is just the weirdest thing. Now, let's just go back in the 80s. Let's go with the Rock. I'm just throwing out names. I'm not saying these are true. Rock and Roll Express, the Fantastics, the Horsemen. How come, shit, now that I'm putting it out there, why, I heard stories, not with them, just stories of the old school guys with all these groupies and all these things. All of a sudden, it's just this era, this time. I'm not going to be surprised that people are going to come up now and bring up people from the past, all old school wrestlers, all the stories, because it was worse then. I'm just saying, if it was different then. So let's just see if something comes up.
Look at the shit, like even like this recent speaking out allegation, fucking, you know, Rob Feinstein. That shit happened back in the early 2000s, and now that shit is being brought back up again. Like, fuck Rob Feinstein, but this shit is now being brought back up again. And we also, sorry.
No. Go ahead. I just didn't want.
No, it's okay. And we're also looking at you know, what's his name, James Ellsworth. 2 years ago, same shit. He was accused of, you know, sending provocative photos to underage girls. Now he's been brought into the speaking out movement where it had nothing to fucking do with it. So things are being rehashed from the history of things. Because look, I'm not making any fucking defense to Rob Feinstein or James Ellsworth. As far as I'm concerned, both those guys can go fuck themselves because when they want to fuck with kids, fuck that shit. But all I'm saying is no one's coming out and doing speaking out movements, but the dirt sheets and the fucking internet fucking wrestling sites are now putting them into that as well. Get the fuck out of here. Some of these sites are blowing this shit up and blowing it out of fucking just adding more shit to it.
Clickbait.
Exactly. Like, I'm fucking get the fuck out of here. And I'm sorry for my language, guys, but seriously.
I mean, I'm just saying whatever. This show is uncensored. But the thing is, and I agree with you, Piers.
Here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Piers. But you know what's funny? Think about Ric Flair. Look at all the stories Ric Flair said on many shows of him coming out naked on the airplane with his robe when he opens his robe. What if now these stewardess or flight attendants, it will come out and say, well, I was offended. I felt nervous. I felt disrespected. I was there. He did this. He did that. Now, all these years later, people are going to be jumping on the bandwagon, bringing up all these Ric Flair stories, all these Space Mountain stories, you know.
They all have Alzheimer's now.
We bring up stories from years past. And this one doesn't go back quite as far as some do, but still pretty far back. And this was the third one that I really wanted to hit on. Excuse me.
Yeah, okay.
Now, first off, fuck Rob Feinstein. Fuck James Ellsworth. It's just the way I feel about it.
Right there, you two fucking child molesting fucks.
One person that I do feel sorry for, and that I do think has been, you know, overly punished. Let's talk about Sammy Guevara. Now, I'm not talking about Sammy Guevara because he's part of the inner circle. He's on it. He's one of the key players in AEW. He's in a big limelight and nothing like that. I'm looking at the facts here. 4 years ago, during NXT tryout, Sammy Guevara said on a live podcast. Now, I'm going through these details because all these details I'm going to come back to them, and they all have a very significant meaning. On a live podcast, said that he wanted to rape Sasha Banks. Let me go ahead and say this. It's a dumb thing to say. No justification for it. It's fucking stupid. But now let's talk about this. He said it on a live podcast. This wasn't like locker room talk. This wasn't a private message. This wasn't a DM. This was on a live podcast. It was out there. Everybody knew he said it. And in the time that has passed, he's apologized to Sasha. Him and Sasha had a conversation. Sasha accepted the apology. He made a dumb mistake. He said something stupid. And he apologized for it. And now we see him being suspended by AEW without pay. And he's off TV for God knows how long. Here's my problem. Once again, public podcast. Everybody knew he said it. Nobody had a problem with it back then. Another thing. He's being suspended by a company that he didn't work for at the time when he said it. He's being punished by a company that wasn't even around when he said this. Now, I often make this analogy. So everybody knows I'm a police officer. Let's say I work for Department A, and I get in trouble at Department A, and I get written up. Now, time goes by, I end up finding greener pastures, and now I'm working for Department B. Is it okay for Department B to punish me for things I did at Department A?
No, because you've already done your time.
I think a public apology would have sufficed just fine. I think, they open up Dynamite. Hi, my name's Sammy Guevara. 4 years ago on a live podcast, I said something very stupid. I've since apologized. She has accepted my apology. This does not excuse it. Something along those lines. I think Sammy Guevara is being way over punished. I'm not justifying what he said. It was absolutely stupid. But to be punished by a company and I understand this is their affirmative action. They want to get ahead of this thing. They want to look like they're being proactive. They want to look like they are, supporting the victims and just they want to paint this good picture. And I get that. But like I said, I think a public apology would have been fine. And I just think that God bless Sammy Guevara. And as long as he takes this seriously, which I believe he will, I think he'll be just fine. I think he'll come right back into the inner circle like nothing ever happened. But if he comes on and starts making jokes about it, or like other people have, and record a rap video about it, that'll be the dumbest thing he could do. But I honestly believe Sammy Guevara was overly punished in this situation. It was 4 years ago.
But the thing is that the Sammy Guevara situation, you can't judge somebody for being stupid. If he said something stupid, it was stupid. It's not that he did something and he committed a crime. And again, in this country, and I don't know about Australia, I'm just saying, in this country, you have freedom of speech, you have freedom of expression, you have freedom to voice any opinion you want. I mean, look how many times I talked about.
But that doesn't excuse you from repercussions.
No, I understand, but and I'm just going off this. It's just that look how many times I buried Dutch Mantel. Look how many times I said he should get hit by a Mack truck. I mean, this is the truth. I'm voicing my opinion. If somebody comes out and says, "Man, that's wrong, man," you telling people that you wish he died or fell down the stairs and broke his neck. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's in the same category, but again, I'm just voicing my opinion and I'm just saying what I feel. And again, that's just my right. He was stupid for saying what he said, again, but you cannot charge somebody for being stupid. I said a lot of stupid things in my life that I regret, but I can't bring back. And if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, you offended me," I am so sorry. That was not my intention. So all of a sudden, 4 years from now, somebody brings it up. I'm like, dude, first of all, I don't work for your company. I never signed a morals clause that stated anything. My morals clause states from this point on and forward that if I do anything to put a bad light on the company, I deserve any repercussions now. But don't bring up something I did 10 years ago or 4 years ago when I was a stupid kid and I admit that and I apologized then. All of a sudden you're punishing me now? No bueno.
The thing is, how old Sammy Guevara? Like 26?
I don't know.
I think he's 23.
Now?
23 or 24.
Yeah.
Now he's 23, 24?
Yeah.
And then
so he was a fucking child when he fucking said it. Like, it was 20, 21, 22, whatever it is. And I don't want to bring age into it, but when we're younger, we're stupid and we don't have the same filter that we get when we're older. You're going, hold on a second. I can't say shit like this here. I got to watch my tone. I got to watch my mouth. I got to watch what I say. Unless you're Angel and just don't give a flying shit about anything, then you say whatever the hell that comes out of your mouth.
Sammy Guevara is 26 years old, born 26. July 28th, 1993.
Okay, so 4 years ago, he was 22 years old. So 22, you're still young, you're still stupid. What he said was ridiculous. It was stupid, and it's not an appropriate thing to say. But I agree with by any means, not an appropriate thing to say. Like, look, you can say something vulgar, but that was beyond vulgar, in my opinion. But should he be punished for it now? Should he be suspended from a company that didn't exist back then, that he did not work for back then? No. He still went and had a career and did things in the last 4 years before AEW rocked up. I think AEW, I think it was reactional. I think
I agree with
the thing that's not getting a lot of attention here is he reached out and apologized to Sasha, and it wasn't an unanswered apology. They had a conversation. She accepted the apology. She thanked him for the apology, and it was squashed.
But this is the same thing when he did. Was it him that did the Lacey Evans sweetheart thing?
Yes.
I just wanted to bring it up because I knew Kevin will bring it.
So during his NXT tryout, they were taking roles in the ring, and they had to sound off with their name. So he said Sammy Guevara took his role, and then Lacey Evans was on the outside of the ring, and she said, I can't hear you. So they made him do it again, and this time he shouted, Sammy Guevara, baby, and took another bump. And then the camera guy runs over to Lacey Evans. Did he just call you baby? Once again, that's one of those common phrases. Like, people say that without even talking to anybody. Like
Adam Cole, baby.
And that's exactly where I was going. Using this logic, obviously not now because there's not fans, but if I go to an NXT event when there's fans allowed and Adam Cole hits his entrance, Adam Cole, baby, do I then get to be offended?
No, that's fucking ridiculous.
Exactly my point.
And the thing is as well, I've seen that clip the other night. I watched it, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And she was going, he wants to call me baby. Like, he has to learn how to roll first. Like, come on, get out of here.
But look at Scott Steiner when he's like, I'm your big booty daddy, and now people are gonna get offended about that.
Yeah, but it's a different time, dude. Like, so
it's a different time. So if he would have done something did something back then, it's okay.
No,
it's a different time.
No. What I'm saying is,
I think what Piers is getting at is everybody gets offended now.
No, I know.
Back when we grew up, back when way back when Angel grew up,
when the ring was made, when the ropes were made out of wood.
I mean, we weren't so offended. We didn't get upset easily, but now we've got this snowflake safe space, mommy come and hold me bullshit mentality where everything offends you, and it's like it's so much easier and more acceptable for you to go, you offended me, stop talking like that, than it is for someone to come up and go, hey, grow the fuck up.
Well, yeah, and I agree. It was different then. But I mean, if you're going to bring up people's past, bring up everybody's past. I mean, look at the Vince McMahon and the referee story back in the 90s when she said she was going to say, oh, why is that not coming up? I mean, we just had a show recently about the Pat Patterson situation. Oh, if we're bringing up stuff now, let's just bring back those Ring Boy stories and now file charges. If you're going to file charges now, file charges for people back then. Because it was more credible back then. I mean, they had evidence. They had things on Donahue. They brought it up. It's on tape.
I mean, that's the thing. How much are you going to rehash shit that happened 30 years ago? Correct. And like these allegations that have come up recently, it's been, even like there's been WWE superstars. So let's have a look at the WWE guys that have been brought up.
Real quick before you go into that, and I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm sorry, Piers, but before we go into the actual list, we talk about things that were acceptable in a different time that today would just be, blasphemy. I got 4 words for you. Kiss my ass club.
Yeah.
You think like back then you had guys like William Regal, JR, even
Trish Stratus.
Trish Stratus at one point.
She was made to fucking get on all fours in lingerie and bark like a bitch.
The stink face that Rikishi used to do. Even moves like the Bronco Buster. Like back then, these are just, and I didn't agree with them back then. I don't agree with them now. Like
dude, Mae Young did the Bronco Buster. I mean, come on. I mean, like, that was just ooh.
You think any of those things would go? You think any of those things would fly today?
No way in the world. And as I said, it's a different time.
But we can't use that different time philosophy, because if they want to bring up that past and bring up like, hey, I felt degraded, I didn't want to take this thing face, I didn't want to do the Kiss My Ass Club, but I was afraid to lose my job, and they told me if you don't do it, we will just probably have to put you on the back burners or let you go. Ooh, what?
So let's look at the names of guys that are working in WWE right now. Okay, so Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream, Riddle. Okay, Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream, Austin Theory.
God, sorry.
It's okay. We've got Trent Seven, Wolfgang, Jordan Devlin, Jack Gallagher, Joe Coffey, and Bull James. He's a former WWE star. James Ellsworth, former WWE star. So you look, they've already started firing NXT referees that have been over in the UK that are guilty of this shit. They just got rid of Gentleman Jack. A Velveteen Dream. There's apparently he's on his last fucking
he's done.
He's done. He's got to be fucking terminated. That's got to happen in the next week or two for sure.
Oh yeah, his next case would be welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. How can I help you?
Fucking well, Matt Riddle. This was an interesting one because I would from the outside looking in, he looks like he's the happy family man. But from the story that I read, he was in a car with a woman. I'm just bringing it up now. So he was in a car with other wrestlers, and there was a female wrestler in the car who he had been with before. And everyone basically what he did was he was in the car and he said, "Hey, come back here and ride this dick." She went she said no. He grabbed her by the throat, dragged her back there, and she performed oral sex on him.
No.
And she said she didn't fuck him, but she just to get him to leave her alone, give him enough just to leave him alone.
Polish the knob, like on the cob.
Yeah. But then he's come out and he said that that's bullshit. She's pretty much been a stalker. I've had I've put 3 restraining orders against her.
But Piers, real quick question. I mean, I don't want to sidetrack you, but wasn't you or Kevin that brought up the fact that he brought it up to WWE, so they're aware of it. As long as you bring it, they were aware of it. It was okay because that's what happened with the not Enzo Amore. Enzo Amore, and they knew about it. So if it's okay if I went up to them and told them, hey, this is what happened, this is bullshit, it's okay. But if I don't say nothing, then I'm asked out.
And it's such, and I'm not a Matt Riddle fan at all. I can't stand him. Don't like him. But I it's kind of hard to believe this story, especially if he did have those restraining orders and stuff like that. But we talked about the Adam Cole thing, and the whole Bay thing and who that's going to offend. Can you guys imagine how many people can potentially come out about the DX crotch chop and them telling you to suck it?
Yeah.
The list would be endless.
So what about the time when DX used to, you remember when Triple H stood on the ropes and pointed to the girls to show their boobs?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. I just felt awkward because the camera was on me and I just felt obligated to do it, but I felt degraded because he pointed me out.
So another thing that I've just seen here is some messages that apparently have been sent from Matt Riddle and Lisa Riddle to the woman that he essentially had an affair with. This message apparently came from his wife, which said, "Hey Sam, it's Lisa Riddle. You were still blocked on Matt's phone and he knows I'm messaging you. Can you please do me a favor and screenshot all the messages you have of you two and send them to me? Next message, please, you owe me that." Then the third message is, "You don't have to respond. His number it's changed and I'll see you Saturday." Then there's other messages from someone else to the same person who made these accusations saying, "I believe you. Matt used to brag about grabbing you and pulling you into a parking lot in the middle of a show and having sex with you without asking. I don't know if that happened or not, but for him to brag about that, I know you're definitely telling the truth." The response that this person said to that message was, "Hi, I really feel the need to share this because people are currently attacking me and it's breaking my heart." So, again, a lot of this stuff is, it's allegation, it's hearsay. We're not the ones, we're not judge, jury, and executioner where we can say whether Matt Riddle is guilty or anyone else is guilty or innocent. Time is going to be able to, time tells everything. And that's the thing that's going to come out is the truth will come out in due time. But, some of this stuff is the Matt Riddle story is how do you prove it? If you're in the back, if there's put this way, if there's 3 other people in a car and there's 2 people in the back of the car and one of them is getting his dick sucked, like you're gonna come on, man, you're gonna no one's gonna wake up in a car ride
Once again, let me bring up a Vic Grimes story. We're on the road and we hook up with this rat. I think it was Leatherface again too. Part 2 of the Leatherface saga. So she's in the front seat, polishing the knob. And you know what? And I did say that. She was in the front seat and I said, hey, why don't you give my boy some loving? She could have said no. But of course, she went down on him. And of course, Angel with his jokes of wisdom go, bro, really? That's a baby right there. And he goes, come on, man, stop. Because I was teasing him. Again, she didn't have to be there. She knew what was going to happen. And again, we have so many thousands of girls that used to show up to the shows willing to party with the boys. We didn't have to force anybody to do what they, we had the celebrity status to go, hey, let's hang out, because that's what they wanted to do. They knew what was going to happen. And if they said no, hey, I'm sorry. We never held anybody against their will. We never forced anybody. It was all consensual. And get your finger out your nose, Kevin.
My mustache, okay.
it was consensual. It was always consensual. In my whole career, I never seen anybody force anybody to do something they didn't want. It was all consensual. It was weird shit, like remotes being put in places and say, hey, blink your eyes, change the channel story. And I'm like, holy shit. But it was all consensual.
So let me, we're almost getting to that 1 hour mark, but this is about the gentleman Jack Gallagher. So this is the accusation. Let me read it out, and obviously I'll get you guys to, we'll go over it. I never thought that this is something I would say publicly, but I want others to know that they never need to be ashamed and should feel like they can tell their stories. On New Year's Eve of 2014, I attended a house party and Jack Gallagher, Gentleman Jack, was there. Jack got me drunk while I acknowledged that I am an adult and can make my own decisions. He literally pouring straight spirits into my glass, putting it to my mouth and telling me to drink. When I would make myself a drink, he would add more alcohol when my glass was unattended. I thought that I was in a safe environment and didn't need to shield my glass. Jack asked me to sit on his lap. I said no. He then sat on my lap and made advances. The entire time I expressed that I was uncomfortable, but I also didn't want to make a scene. In hindsight, I should have. At the end of the evening, I went to the bathroom. Jack barged into the room. I immediately stood up and tried to pull up my skirt. I stood up and tried to pull my skirt down. Jack grabbed me and he pulled at my straight. Pulled what? Hold on a sec. Pulled. Sorry, this is all over the place.
Piers can't read.
No, I can read, but it's just gone in thing. But
you got mail, yay!
So I'm just bringing up a more clearer thing of it. So, okay, so he barged in the room. Jack grabbed me and he pulled at my skirt. He pulled so hard he ripped my skirt. I managed to push him away and I left the room. I then immediately left the party and I spent years afterwards downplaying the story, trying to not cause any issues. I'm not going to be silent any longer. So this is a woman who was in a situation where she's saying that he was pretty much force feeding this girl alcohol.
No.
Who was an adult. So she was an adult and she was in a bathroom. He barged in and, tried to have his way with her. She pushed against him and he kept on going. He ripped her skirt and then she left.
I'm going to get a lot of heat for my thoughts on this.
All right, let's start with Angel and then we'll let Kevin fester for a bit.
Well, okay, like she said, she's a grown adult and, but if he's force feeding her drinks, hey, I do it to you, Piers. I will do it to you, Kevin. If we're at a party, come on, man, drink. And I'll be putting the beer to your lips, drink. And that's your choice to say, brother, I'm done. I'm tapping out. Okay, whatever, pussy, whatever. But again, the story of her in the bathroom, hey, it's an allegation. That's crazy. I'm sorry if that did happen. But again, you should have reported it. You're a grown adult. You should have just voiced your opinion. Like she said, I don't want no problems. Then if you didn't want any problems, you shouldn't have been there and put yourself in that situation.
She said in that statement that she was declining his advances multiple times, Angel.
Go, you're a grown adult, leave. You have no obligation to stay at that party, and you should have voiced your opinion then. And again, I'm not saying that now, you should not bring it up. It's just saying that it happened so long ago, it's hard to prove. Kevin, you go.
Okay. So I expect to get a lot of heat for this. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. First, that's for dramatic effect. So she says she's at a house party. Okay, she's not at a bar. She's not at a club. She's not at a tavern or wherever you want to, whatever. She's at a house party. Okay. The first thing I want to bring up is like Angel said. Whenever I go out with my friends or I go to a party, yeah, there's always that guy there that's like, oh, let's do a shot. Let's do another shot. Let's do another shot. And I'm normally that guy. Yeah. But you as an adult know your limit. I am not, if this is a true story, and I use the term if, and it's not that I'm calling somebody a liar or saying I don't believe them. I don't know. I want to make that very clear. I say if because I do not know. I was not there. So, if this is a true story, I feel bad for the woman. However, means there's a lot of people there. If you don't want to drink, don't drink. If you feel like you're hitting your limit, stop drinking. I do it all the time. Another thing, if I'm at a house party and somebody's making me feel uncomfortable and I don't want to make a scene, I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna scream, but I am going to hang out with somebody I know. Like if I'm at a party and someone's making me feel uncomfortable and Angel's there and I don't want to make a scene, I'm gonna stick with Angel. I'm gonna hang out with Angel. I'm gonna make sure I'm in a place with somebody at all times. Period. That's just how it's gonna go down. She didn't do that. So there's strike two for me. Another thing is, how many times, and we've all been to bars, we've all been to clubs, we've all been to parties. How many times at a party, a bar, or a club does a woman go to a bathroom by herself?
Never. They always have a wing girl.
Like it's always, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. Come on, let's go. And they all go together. Like, and I understand, like, this is all subjective. I don't buy this story for a single second. And then let's go to him asking her to sit on his lap. Once again, she says she feels uncomfortable. Go hang out with a friend. Go stand next to somebody. And then he sits on her lap. Tell somebody. You don't have to make a scene. You can easily be like, hey, this guy's making me feel uncomfortable. Will you please? I was the head of security at a bar. You know how many times a night a girl would walk up to me and be like, hey, I'm not trying to flirt with you or anything, but will you pretend to be my boyfriend so this guy will leave me alone? Sure, no problem. You mean to tell me there wasn't one person at that party that she felt comfortable enough with or could have approached maybe the host of the party or whatever the case may be and be like, hey, he's making me feel uncomfortable. Can somebody please just, hang out with me? And ultimately, if you're in a situation where you don't feel comfortable and if she didn't know anybody, like, and I know that's one of the things that's going to be said, well, what if she didn't know anybody at the party? Okay, if you don't know anybody and you feel uncomfortable, there's a thing called a taxi, an Uber, your car, whatever the case may be, friggin' leave. There's too many what ifs in this story for me to even begin to buy it.
Yep. The thing is, WWE released him. So there must there is a sexual assault that has allegedly happened here.
No, but WWE is just releasing them just to avoid any drama.
Okay, hold on a second. So they've released this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't yet released Velveteen Dream. They haven't yet released Matt Riddle. They haven't yet released Trent Seven. They haven't yet released Joe Coffey. They haven't yet released Wolfgang. So my thing is, why Jack? I think
maybe he's not that important. Maybe they don't feel like he's a bigger
name
star.
value. Everybody you just named except Jack is a former champion.
Okay. Former champion, that's fair enough. But I don't know, man. I think they would have went to him and said, "Hey, is there any valid
everybody except Jack that I can remember?" And if I'm wrong, I know I'm going to get tore apart in the comments. But if memory serves me correctly, everybody except Jack that you just named is a former champ. Everybody except
tag champ. Sorry, yes,
tag champ.
Yeah.
Everybody except for Jack has had a 4 or 5 star match, a main event quality match, a star-studded match. I really think a lot that goes into this is name value. And you know, it's we keep going back to this, but look at Pat Patterson. Okay.
Look at Shawn Michaels.
This is legit. Like, everybody knows this happened. He's in the Hall of Fame.
And look at all the stories about the not Rock and Roll Express, the Rockers, you know, and all their stories, and they post it on all these other social media podcasts, and you know, all the sex stories that they had. You don't think Shawn Michaels? And again, I'm not knocking Shawn Michaels now because it's just that those stories, you know, those wild sex parties and stuff like that. The Sonny with the velvet sweater coming out of the thing, and he had velour stuck to his beard. You know, she could come on and say, "Well, he forced me," or you know what I mean. It's just, again, he had sharp qualities.
Is anyone really going to believe Sonny?
I know, but I'm just saying that. But if it was Shawn Michaels back then, you know, and especially when he was hot, Vince would not let him go because that's his money. You know, that is, you know, he has to protect him. But if it's somebody on the undercard that's not bringing any money, that's a possibility they're going to let you go.
But you know what? It's also not just women that have come out and speaking out about this. So, you know, one of the things that we saw TJ Perkins, he came out and he spoke about, you know, he was 13 when he got in the wrestling business. When he was 15, he had, you know, women that were 20, 22 years of age that were, you know, forced him into doing sexual acts. Keith Lee, he stated something very similar where he was at a bar. This woman approached him. He was saying, "Thank you, but no thank you." She bought him a drink. Next thing you know, he's like feeling lightheaded. He wakes up the next day buck naked in a hotel room. So it can happen to anyone. And Keith Lee is a big motherfucker. So you can imagine like that situation.
Well, like you said, we can go on and on. We could stay on this topic for days and nights. And, you know, I mean, maybe there'll be a part 2 later. But the thing is that, again, we're not saying that none of these people's stories are true. I mean, false. I mean, or again, I'm sorry that this happened to you.
Some are really hard to believe.
That's right. It's hard to believe.
Some are hard to believe, and some, like I said, you know, we apologize. Well, we thank the people for coming out because it does take some courage for those people that have gone through some trauma. You know, thank you for having the courage to speak out. The people that are guilty, fuck you all. The people that are innocent, you know, I hope that you're proven innocent.
Well. We're past that hour mark, man. We don't want to continue because we can go on and on. But anyway, let's just start closing this off.
You know, I'll just go and say that for my closing statements, you know, like I said in the beginning, for those of you who are brave enough to speak out, you know, I deal with things like this all the time, and I cannot tell you how brave it is for someone to speak up and to speak out about something like this. On the other side of the coin, for those of you making false allegations or blowing things out of proportion, fuck you. You're taking away from people who actually need justice. You're ruining people's lives. And there really needs to be a consequence for this because we see it all the time. It's like, oh, well, they were proven innocent. Okay, well, if they are proven innocent, what's going to happen to this person who just essentially ruined this person's life? There has to be some kind of some kind of repercussion. So I'll let you guys make your closing statements, and then I'll give another quick plug to the sponsors, and we'll wrap this up, guys.
Absolutely. I'm like saying like I'm gonna quote one of the famous words: if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. But again, I mean, if it is something that's not true, then they should continue with their career with the organization that they're with. I mean, sometimes these organizations, even though the person's innocent, they still like, hey, we can't use him because he has this bad light anyway, so we got to release him. And then the career is ruined because now these allegations, which are false, ruin their lives. So, give those guys an opportunity to prove themselves innocent. If they're guilty, give them the boot, ban them from pro wrestling or any other organizations, like any sports or whatever. But if they're innocent and you find that they're innocent, then give them the opportunity to make themselves successful. And that's how I feel.
Give them healthy careers, man.
Give me healthy careers.
And that's the thing, as you both said, the people that have been brave enough to come and speak out, that have been victims in this situation, my heart goes out to you. Thank you for being brave. You are brave people for doing it. For those of you that are making up bullshit and jaded and trying to get back at an ex, this isn't the way to do it. This isn't a way to do it. And as Kevin said, you're taking away from victims. You're making their stories and their allegations seem smaller, which they need to be made to light. If you're guilty of this stuff, then there is no room in pro wrestling for you. If you're innocent, I hope your innocence is proven. That's all I have to say.
Dilly.
Absolutely, and I could not agree with you guys anymore. And like Angel said, this is a topic that we can go on and on for, but we are going to go and wrap things up for this episode. Maybe we'll get into a part 2. We really just need to sit back and keep an eye on this on this certain topic, because I have a very uneasy feeling that we're not even close to the end of the line with all the people who are going to be speaking up and speaking out and all this other stuff. But really quick, guys, I just want to make another really quick, huge thank you to our sponsors, Mayon Belts and A-Rock Designs, who support our show and make this happen every single week. And lastly, guys, make sure you head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Wrestling Review Society and check out awesome shirts like this one. And if you want to get your hands on any merchandise, make sure you go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Wrestling Review Society. Piers, go ahead.
And while you're there, you can also go over to Pro Wrestling Tees/MWA World, and you can pick up some of the merchandise from my organization, Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance. I'm waiting on my shirts to come in. Fucking COVID. It makes it hard to get stuff over from the States. Thank you very much. See you next time, guys.
If you want good-looking merch, ProWrestlingTees.com/Wrestling Review Society. Check us out.
And thanks, don't worry, eventually we will have a Wrestling with Tragedy shirt. Again, this is a new show, so we don't have anything. So I can say hi.
So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you check us out on all of our platforms: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll see you guys next week for our next episode.
Vince Russo brand. Check us out on there. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah, daddy.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.